Hey, good morning, everybody. Scott Fisher back with you again with Senior Resource Connectors. About a month or so ago, I had a conversation with my friends Rob and Randy Sobel from WeedWorks. Hey, guys.
Hi, everyone.
Scott.
Scott.
We had such a good conversation. We've said we got to continue this conversation, and so here we are, a few weeks down the road, and we're going to spend a few minutes today getting more into the medical applications of the use of cannabis to address chronic disease, particularly around dementia and all the psychiatric symptoms around that. For those of you that are watching the first time, Connectors was formed 4 years ago as a coalition of businesses dedicated to caring for families who are experiencing the challenges of aging. That includes a lot of stuff that is exhausting to families, particularly the adult children. Some of us are walking that walk right now, and we're loving someone who is experiencing some challenges with their aging journey. And so we're here for you to answer your questions, create outreach, and bring you the best resources in town. We've been in the senior spaces for over 20 years. Our partners have together hundreds of years of experience walking families through the journey. So, hey, guys, welcome back. I'm so glad to see you guys this morning. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having us back. We really appreciate your time today, Scott.
Your energy always inspires me. We're so passionate, and I love that. We were talking just before we hit the record button here about we have these missions, right? We're on these life missions to take our message to our target audience, and maybe just refresh everybody real quick before we get into this. The mission of WeedWorks. What are you guys shooting for, and who are you helping out there?
So our mission is to, educate, the senior population and medical communities on the benefits of medical cannabis, and to reach out to as many people as possible to show that cannabis can really be used as medicine, that it's not just a bad drug, right? That it is beneficial, it is helpful with many different ailments. And, we really like working with the senior community specifically because they are, underserved in this area. There's a lot of people that have a stigma about cannabis. A lot of people, they grew up thinking it was bad. And, we want to get it out there that, no, this is really beneficial. This could really help improve, the quality of life, for those seniors. And that's what we're trying to,
Right. I appreciate
plant
that.
over pills, basically, right?
Plant over
That's
pills.
been
And
said.
there's ways that you can use
Right.
medicine without getting that high feeling that so many adults and seniors are scared and don't want to have anymore. So there's plenty of products available, and we just have to educate people so that they understand how it can help their ailments and their conditions.
Guys, a number of years ago, I got to serve on a committee that was housed down at the Attorney General's office, and we called it the Attorney General's Health and Safety Committee. And one of the projects we worked on was to identify the top healthcare threats or healthcare issues facing aging Arizonans. And essentially, there were two that are head and shoulders above everything else: falling, of course, and the prevalence of Alzheimer's disease, the intrusion of the disease as it unleashes itself onto our aging population. In Arizona, we have hundreds of thousands of seniors over the age of 65 already. It is just good. We are very top heavy.
Yep.
For sure.
With that being said, and I know as a clinician, as a nurse who's worked clinically in the space, caring for people with dementia, with traditional psychoactive medications, psychotropic drugs that we know the names of: Seroquel, Haldol, Ativan, Xanax. I can go on, antidepressant therapies. There is a cluster of symptomatology that comes along with dementia and these psychiatric symptoms. We've only had the access to what the drug companies have produced for us. There's such a frontier of new opportunity with cannabis. So talk about how cannabis can really help, address and maybe help mitigate some of those symptoms that people experience.
Oh, fantastic.
Sure.
You know what? We'll get into that particular question. But before we get started, we wanted to give like a little bit of education on cannabis, because we're going to be going through answering some of these questions and going through, we're going to be using some terms that people may not be, totally familiar with. So that being said, there's many different parts, of the cannabis plant, right? And those different parts, they're called cannabinoids, okay? And two of the most common ones that most people have heard of are THC and CBD. Okay, so we're going to use that terminology throughout this presentation. So, THC is the part of the plant that is the psychoactive part of the plant, but it's got many benefits to it. Like it helps alleviate pain, it'll stimulate like hunger, like it'll relieve, stimulate appetite. It'll relieve eye pressure and like glaucoma. It's good for stress and anxiety. So those are some of the benefits of THC, and help with insomnia as well. And CBD, that part of the plant, that's non-psychoactive. Okay, so you're not going to get that high feeling from just taking CBD. And CBD is really good, for like inflammatory issues. Okay, and it's really beneficial for Alzheimer's and dementia as well. So we're going to go through that. So we wanted to start with that before we start.
Okay.
So
when it comes to the benefits of cannabis for dementia and Alzheimer's patients, alleviating the agitation and the anger and the outbursts, that is the first and foremost one of the best things that cannabis can do for someone with dementia. They can reduce the amount of medication, the traditional medications, as you said, that they're on, and increase CBD. If we met with someone whose mother has appetite issues and an occasional issue first. So for someone like that, we are going to suggest using THC because THC will stimulate someone's appetite. Right. CBD alone won't do that. So you need the combination if you have both agitation and appetite needs. But for someone who just has ailments of agitation, anger, outbursts, starting someone like that with just CBD can help with that, can help with sleep, and help with them to socially engage more, to be a little bit more present with their family members. So I'm not going to get ahead of the next question.
It also helps. It also helps with reducing like anxiety and like with depression issues, right? So just going through. Sorry, we have printouts, but just going through, some of the benefits and some of the ailments that that result as a result of Alzheimer's or dementia. So managing pain, if they have pain associated with it, cannabis is really good for that. Improving social interaction, because if they're feeling better, right, and they don't have those outbursts, they kind of can come out of their shell a little bit more, right? And then the other benefit too is, as we talked about a little bit before, was reducing like the caregiver burden, right? Because if cannabis helps, with reducing that agitation, and the outbursts, right, it affects everybody around, right? So if cannabis is helping, then it takes that stress down, and that stress from all the other caregivers, whether it's family members or actual caregivers. So
I'm thinking about the side effects of there's a family of medicines called benzodiazepines, right? In those, you've got the old Valium, Ativan, Xanax. They have different generic names for each one of those, but they act very similarly to big doses of alcohol on the brain, right? Chemically, they're very similar. So there are some people that have a few drinks and they feel nice and they're fuzzy and they're kind of fun. But I've also seen people have 2 drinks and they get to be mean and nasty, and they're balanced and their perceptions are all distorted. Think about this highly concentrated medicine given to a senior who's not metabolizing things very well, who's probably dehydrated in many cases as it is. When we give Ativan or Xanax to someone like that, it often 50% of the time turns them into a mad and irritated drunk. It distorts their personality. It creates imbalance issues all the time. My brother's an orthopedic surgeon, you guys, and he'll tell me Xanax is the devil. He's fixed more broken hips in elderly ladies because they've been popping Xanax to cool off all day. And now they've lost their balance and they break a hip, and he's had to fix it, and he just feels it should be outlawed. And so here you come to the rescue with a cannabis product with the right balance of THC and CBD to it that can address some of these issues without the ugly side effects that come with the benzos, right? So, but not everything has got a panacea. So tell us, are there risks or side effects that people need to be concerned about? I can imagine too much THC, and you're just got
Well,
you got a
correct.
very mellow
Exactly.
person.
That is exactly it. Too much THC can
Yeah,
definitely
you have a very
lead
mellow
to a
grandma
fall,
there.
some different behaviors. Absolutely, which is why it's so important to understand and make sure that you're working with someone that could guide you along this path if you're going to go down the cannabis journey.
Yeah.
Because of course there is a risk of some cognitive impairment or falling, dry mouth. Like we said, the appetite, someone might not need to gain weight or eat, and they could get the munchies from it. So making sure that they understand how to dose properly and how to use the medication and start very, very slowly and low amounts of cannabis, medical cannabis, of course, being put into their system.
Yeah, I mean, some of the other side effects, I mean, it can, and this is all for the most part, if somebody has too much THC, right?
Correct.
All the things we just talked about is if somebody has too much
Not
THC.
CBD.
So like, THC, it can increase your confusion and paranoia, right? You've heard of people who get too high, oh, I got so paranoid, right? That's a result of too much THC. Now, when we're dealing with treatments for dementia and Alzheimer's, really for the most part, the most effective is something that is, whether it's a straight CBD or something that's very high in CBD and very low in THC. Okay, so, but if people are, and this is kind of what we do, it goes into kind of a little bit what we do in our program. Like we're contracted with Cureleaf, right? So we go
That's
out to
where
the
we're
community,
sitting
and that's
right
where we're
now.
sitting right
We're
now.
at Cureleaf in
And
Scottsdale.
Cureleaf is a dispensary, and they're all over the place. And they believe in the medical program. That's why we're here, because where people run into issues in a wrong product or take the wrong product, right? That's too much, too high in THC. So for the most part, if you talk to people in a community, you'll hear like a lot of people have a bad edible story, because they took too much, right? Too much THC. So we have to be very careful, like I said, in regards to dosing and making recommendations. And the reason why I brought up Curely, because part of our program is we're here just giving free consultations. And we want to make sure when people come to a dispensary that they're getting the right product and they know how to dose it right. And that's where we come into play. Yep.
It's pretty common. One of the components of the syndrome that comes with Alzheimer's often is the sundowning issue, right? The afternoon and early evening rev that people have. There's some added distortion, added confusion, maybe some energy and agitation that come with that. And I've heard memory care communities now incorporating, an edible into the middle of the afternoon, half a brownie, a gummy, a sucker, something that will head that off. And they don't have that peak rev any longer. They've learned how to smooth that off or get through the afternoons, which have been very challenging. And that's often when families throw their hands up and find placement because they can't deal with all that rev and that nighttime irritability that comes with that, right? So this is really welcome news.
I'm so glad you brought that up. This used to happen with my mom. So we watched it firsthand. And we just met with a family last week, and we told them that if you can dose throughout the day and you can give the different, here, we brought different samples so you can see. So this is a tincture. Okay. This is actually Select's tincture. It's one of Cureleaf's brands. So if you can give this and prevent those issues before there's an issue, it's like when you have surgery and they say you want to get ahead of the pain, and it's the same concept. So if just like we knew with my mom, come dinner time, like the witching hour when we had kids, and the behavior is starting to change and they started to increase. So throughout the day, we'd give her some CBD in the morning when she woke up, and then we would do it like lunchtime. And then instead of dinner time, we did it around 3-4 o'clock. Because we started to see her patterns. And that's what we do when we talk to different families and we talk to the different memory care. We find out people's behaviors and people's patterns so we can try to prevent it before it happens.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the beautiful part about if you're just giving CBD too is you can do maintenance throughout the day. And then if you notice there's like breakthrough, like, oh my God, they're extra irritated, and we don't know why. You can always give them more THC, or I'm sorry, more CBD, right?
Yeah.
Because it's going to help with whatever's going on, and they're not going to feel the negative effects, right? That you would get if you were taking THC, right? So,
and what's so great is there's so many awesome options now that, when it comes to seniors and they're in the different communities, it needs to be a dosable product. So like we showed you the tincture, it's very easy to dose that. And we also have, here's another one I brought you. These are called chill pills from a company called Life is Chill. These are extremely dosable because you can put a capsule right into someone's pill box. Makes it super easy for the care team to provide the medication, because all the different senior communities have different rules. All the different memory cares, everyone has different rules with medication. So we have.
That's a maybe a sidebar I just want to address real quick. So if you have a family member that's in senior living already here in Arizona, where we live, um, what does the state allow in terms of prescribing these things? Um, we're an open state now, so recreation use is permitted. So the old medical cards are kind of unnecessary at this point. You could get medical use, right? But how do you get direction to get the right dosing and all that? Or how does the memory care staff get the right dosing for mom?
They work with WeedWorks to teach them and
Okay,
educate
all right.
them on how to get the
Plug,
right
plug.
first and foremost.
Right. So
Gotcha.
for like home healthcare agencies, we know, part of their kind of rule sets is they're really not allowed to dose things. But if it's in like pill format that they're just putting the pills, here it's Monday morning, here's their pill sets, and that's in there already. And then they just have to give it to that patient. That's where the pills or the droppers can really be effective because they're easily dosable that people can handle. Yeah.
Gotcha.
But when it comes
Gotcha.
to different agencies, if it's a federally funded agency versus, a private home care company or an assisted living company, they can set their own rules. You brought up the medical marijuana program and having a medical card. While adult use is 21 and over, it's legal, there is still advantages to having that medical marijuana card, because there are certain products you can only get if you're a medical marijuana patient. There's higher dose products that you can get. You get, not that a lot of seniors are still working, but there are employment protections. There's tax savings. So I can go on with a bunch of different advantages.
Okay.
We're working with group homes, and they need to have a care member become a caregiver for the state so that she can go to the dispensaries to purchase medicine for people that live in their home. So and she would need a license to do that.
So having that medical card there's a
Relevant.
benefit.
It's 110%
Okay.
relevant.
Yeah.
I had no idea. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Glad we could shine a light
Yeah.
on that.
No. That makes a ton of sense, because if you're talking about being able to buy medicine with your pay for your prescriptions with your FSA accounts, and this is for anybody, or you can deduct it as a medicine that's been prescribed by your practitioner, right? Now you're talking about medicine, not recreational use. These things have a financial advantage to them, Randy, right?
Yeah. Tax savings.
Wow. There
Absolutely.
you go. Well, an added benefit we weren't even intended to get into.
For sure.
Well, we work with two different companies actually that are fantastic, and we can get those resources if someone wants to go down the path to get their medical marijuana card and become certified in the state of Arizona.
I think I have one more question for you, and then I know we talked about sharing a video with everybody that kind of sort of puts a wrap on this, and I have a feeling we'll be doing this conversation again. But is there anything in the studies, anything in the research yet that long-term shows intervention with cannabis may slow down progression of the disease, or I don't want to say cure? It's brain disease. You're not going to fix anything, but I think all of us would love more time with our loved ones in their most optimal health condition, right? So is there anything that's out there yet that you're seeing in the research?
There is some, preliminary research, not so much on humans, but in like, mice, about, cannabis slowing the progression of the disease. Okay. It's preliminary.
And that would be the CBD addressing the inflammation issues in the brain.
Correct.
Okay.
Right. So, unfortunately here in the US, since it's not, federally legal, there's not a lot of studies, being done, because of funding and everything like that. But really at the forefront of doing research on cannabis is Israel. They've done a lot of studies. Because there it's fully legal there. So like you can dispense, cannabis at a hospital, you could get it at a pharmacy, right? So they truly look at cannabis as medicine. And
As
they've
full
done
medicine.
studies there that have showed promising. And even in the video, you'll see in the video a little bit of a study that they did there. So, yeah, a lot of the research has been done around the ailments and how it affects the ailments. But like I said, they are doing research and showing some promising studies on it, slowing the progression of the disease as well.
But we're very fortunate that at least while right now, maybe it's not showing that it's slowing the progression or people are that far gone, unfortunately, into the disease, but at least it can bring their families comfort and they could have enjoyable moments with their family members because the agitation is less. And you'll see that in the video too. You can, people are singing with their families. They're spending more time with their family member despite the disease.
Yeah.
It's making it more pleasurable for everybody around them.
That sounds awesome. Well, let's do that. If you guys can hit play on your side, we'll watch the
got it.
video and then we'll wrap this up on the other side. So
Great, here we go.
When I arrive at what some call Israel's San Francisco, picturesque Haifa. So you make this walk quite frequently to go visit your father?
Yeah.
That's got to be kind of nice.
Yes, because I'm glad that I'm coming to make him happy.
I meet up with 69-year-old Ruthie Ben Shalom. Energetic, lively, and above all, a very good daughter.
I know that he has memories, but he cannot walk with them.
It's been a rough road for her father, Joseph. What was he like before the dementia?
He touched everybody.
Was he very warm?
Very, very warm.
But then 2 years ago, after his diagnosis, something changed. Something that happens to nearly 90% of patients with dementia.
Start to be angry, cursing, shouting, hitting. It was very, very scary.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. I knew that this is not my father.
When patients with dementia start having aggressiveness, the family members are in a very terrible situation.
Dr. Vered Hermouche, a geriatrician at Laniado Hospital in nearby Netanya. She's been on a mission to try and treat what so far has been almost always untreatable.
The first thing in the medications that she gives them are the antipsychotics. Medications that can increase their probability to death. They can kill them.
The doctor gave us medicine for him, but he started to be like a zombie.
Hermouche had an idea for older patients like Joseph based upon what she had seen with some of the youngest.
When I saw that cannabinoids are approved for epilepsy for children, I thought if they can help here, they might help in the behavioral disturbances of dementia.
It was a simple theory. During a seizure, the brain has these sudden outbursts of electrical energy, kind of like what you see here, and that can lead to physical outbursts. Hermouche thought the same thing might be happening in dementia patients, leading to behavioral outbursts.
Avidekel was tested in so many clinical trials.
So, with the help of Lehi Barlev Schuleiter, they put it to the test. 60 patients, average age 79. Half got Tukun Alam's cannabis oil, which is 30% CBD and 1% THC. The other half got a placebo, and no one knew who got which. After 16 weeks, there were no serious side effects in either group. But the cannabis group had significantly reduced agitation. They also found something that surprised them. In some of the cases, patients were also able to reduce the other drugs they had been taking. Again and again, it was more plants, fewer pills.
I had a patient, she was getting 4 or 5 medications to control her hypertension. With the cannabis, we stopped all the medications.
And there was one more thing.
There's this one 98-year-old that he started reading,
So their cognition actually improved.
actually improved.
And do you think it's because the cannabis is protecting the brain somehow?
Could be. Could be.
Very early studies in mice show something we have never seen before. That is that low-dose THC was actually seen to reduce the amount of plaque in their brains. It is early, and it is mice, but
The big question will be what that looks like over a longer course in human subjects.
אבא, אבל מה העניינים? מה נשמע?
in the meantime, Joseph and his family, they're not waiting for any trial results.
So this is it, huh, Ruthie?
Yes, this is a demo clip. It's changed his life. בוא ניתן לשון למעלה.
Twice a day, he takes this cannabis oil Dr. Harmouche recommended.
And it sounds like he's a different man.
He come back. It's bring him back.
Gets me emotional every time.
Yeah, it does.
Here we go.
Okay.
There you go. Wow, you guys, that as a clinician, that just gives me all kinds of hope. I love to hear where research is backing up now that what you see first, right? I mean, people create these hypotheses and they explore it and they go forward with their research, and then you start to see, you know, it's early, it's just mice, but wouldn't that be something if this was part of the key to help us address this devastating disease that's just taking out so many loved people. Wow, there's so much to talk about. You guys are doing great work. I love talking to you both, and you make the world a better place for us. We're grateful to have your partnership and look forward to 2025 together. Is there anything you want to say before we get out of here? You know, anything that you'd like to share before we close?
Well, just like what we said before, you know, while they're doing the research to see if this could be a potential cure, in the meantime, you know, how cannabis can really help with those ailments that really affect the patient, but affect everybody around them. And, you know, how cannabis can really help with that. So
if it was Americans aren't great at doing what preventatively helps us.
yes,
They've been telling us for a long time to cut Big Macs out of our diet and all that. But listen, the reality, and I don't think anybody wants, you know, we all fear the reality that dementia brings to, and the threat it brings to our health and for us personally and our loved ones. And so stay close, watch the research. Our friends WeedWorks will continue to update us on those developments and the impact that medical cannabis is having on managing some of these challenges that come with aging. So you guys, I'm grateful to you. Thank you for stopping in again and sharing your passion and your wisdom with us.
Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate Senior Resource Connectors and you and Stacey.
Okay. For everybody, thanks again for tuning in, watching, and stay tuned. More of our partners and our coalition members will join us as we address the issues impacting families. Thanks so much. Take care.
Bye, guys. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you.